Leo Winchester, the son of one of the richest men in Rhode Island, walks into Judge Frank Caprio's courtroom as if he's entering his bedroom, with a lazy, careless attitude. His baseball cap is pulled down to his eyes, headphones dangle from his ears, and in his hand, he's glued to his phone, never looking up for a second. The reason this wealthy young man is here is his third reckless driving charge in 6 months. This time, he was caught driving 70 miles per hour in a school zone while live streaming to his social media followers. On his way here, what he had in mind was simple: sit for maybe 10 minutes, listen to an old judge's lecture about responsibility, and then let his father's checkbook turn this whole unpleasant situation into a bit of paperwork. However, when Judge Caprio began reviewing Leo's shocking sense of entitlement, he learned that Leo had laughed at previous judges, treated court hearings like social media content, and shown no remorse for endangering children. And, as always, this spoiled rich kid once again did something that would determine his fate. While his sentence was being read, he kept playing with his phone, completely ignoring the judge as if he were just background noise in a cafe. Of course, this did not go unnoticed by anyone in the room, especially not by Judge Caprio. What happened next would become one of the harshest reality checks in courtroom history, and this self-entitled young man would receive punishments that not even his father's money could buy his way out of. This was the moment when privilege finally ran into real justice. If you've watched this far, don't miss the end of the video. Like the video, sit back, and enjoy the story, because what you're about to witness is the trial of spoiled privilege standing before unshakable justice. Enjoy listening. Thursday afternoon, 2:15 p.m., Providence Municipal Court. The bailiff calls out, the state of Rhode Island versus Leonardo James Winchester. A young man shuffles into Judge Caprio's courtroom wearing a hoodie that costs more than most people's rent, designer sneakers that could fund a family vacation, and the posture of someone who's never faced a real consequence in his entire pampered life. He doesn't walk to the defendant's table, he ambles like he's heading to grab lunch between classes. Judge Caprio looks up from his bench with his characteristic patience and respect for all defendants, regardless of age or attitude. Good morning, Mr. Winchester. Leo doesn't look up from his phone screen. Yeah, whatever. Not, good morning, not, Your Honor, just the dismissive grunt you'd give someone interrupting your gaming session. Judge Caprio notices the blatant disrespect immediately but maintains his professional composure. Mr. Winchester, you're charged with reckless driving in a school zone, traveling 73 miles per hour in a 25-mile-per-hour zone. This is your third similar offense in 6 months. How do you respond to these charges? Leo continues scrolling through his phone, occasionally tapping to like posts or respond to messages. Look, whatever the fine is, just tell me so we can get this over with. My dad's accountant will transfer the money, and we can all move on with our lives. Mr. Winchester, please put your phone away and give these proceedings your attention. Leo glances up for exactly 2 seconds before returning to his screen. Dude, I'm dealing with important stuff here. Just tell me what I owe and let me bounce. Judge Caprio's expression tightens slightly. Mr. Winchester, this is a court of law, not a drive-through restaurant. You're facing serious charges that could result in jail time. Leo actually laughs while typing a message. Jail time? Right. My dad donates more to this city than most people pay in taxes. We both know how this works. You give me some lecture about responsibility, I nod and look sorry, Dad writes a check, and everyone pretends justice was served. The courtroom falls silent. Even the court reporter stops typing, shocked by this display of casual contempt. Judge Caprio reviews Leo's file more thoroughly. Mr. Winchester, I see that in your previous court appearances, you received suspended sentences and reduced fines. Yet here you are again, having learned absolutely nothing from those experiences. Learned what? Leo continues texting without looking up. That money solves problems. Yeah, I learned that when I was like 5 years old. This whole thing is just expensive theater. Judge Caprio's legendary patience is being tested. Mr. Winchester, you were driving recklessly through a school zone where children walk to and from classes. You could have killed someone. But I didn't, Leo responds with a shrug, still focused on his phone. Nobody got hurt, no property got damaged, so basically nothing happened. You're making this way more dramatic than it needs to be. Nothing happened. You endangered innocent children. Leo finally looks up for a moment, his expression one of complete boredom. Look, Judge, whatever your name is. I've been driving since I was 14. I know what I'm doing. I had complete control of my car, and the street was basically empty anyway. Kids weren't even around. It was 3 o'clock in the afternoon on a school day. So. I didn't see any kids. Leo returns to his phone. Besides, my car has like every safety feature ever invented. Even if something did happen, which it wouldn't, everyone would be fine. Judge Caprio takes a deep breath, clearly working to maintain his composure. Mr. Winchester, your attitude suggests you believe traffic laws don't apply to you. Traffic laws apply to everyone, Leo says while watching a video on his phone. But enforcement should be reasonable. I'm not some dangerous criminal, I'm a college student with perfect grades driving a car that costs more than most people's houses. Context matters, right? So you think your wealth should influence how laws are enforced? Leo pauses his video long enough to give Judge Caprio a look that screams, "Are you serious?" Obviously. That's literally how the world works. Rich people get better lawyers, better treatment, better everything. It's not fair, but it's reality. Everyone knows the system works differently for people who can afford it. Judge Caprio's voice becomes firmer. Mr. Winchester, in this courtroom, your family's wealth means nothing. What matters is your behavior and your attitude toward the law. Leo actually rolls his eyes while returning to his phone. Sure, whatever. Can we speed this up? I've got plans tonight. At this point, Judge Caprio does something unusual. He stands up slowly, and everyone in the courtroom pays attention, except for Leo, who is still focused on his phone. The room grows so quiet you could hear a pin drop. Mr. Winchester, Judge Caprio's voice cuts through the silence like steel, look at me. Leo continues scrolling through social media. Almost done with this text, 1 second. Mr. Winchester, I am addressing you directly. Put that phone down and show this court the basic respect that every defendant owes these proceedings. Leo lets out an exaggerated sigh, but keeps his eyes on his screen. Can't this wait like 2 minutes? My friend is having a total crisis and needs advice. Judge Caprio's voice becomes deadly quiet. Mr. Winchester, your friend's crisis can wait. You are currently facing criminal charges that could result in jail time, and you're treating this courtroom like your personal living room. Jail time for driving fast. Come on. Leo finally glances up with a smirk. We both know that's not happening. Rich kids don't go to jail for traffic stuff. The courtroom gasps audibly. Judge Caprio's expression hardens in a way that veteran court watchers recognize as a very dangerous sign. Mr. Winchester, put your phone away immediately, or I will have the bailiff confiscate it and hold you in contempt. Leo looks genuinely surprised that anyone would dare threaten his precious device. You can't take my phone. That's like, a violation of my rights or something. Your right to use personal electronics ends when you enter my courtroom and show flagrant disrespect to these proceedings. Leo reluctantly slides his phone into his pocket, but his body language screams that he considers this a ridiculous imposition. Fine, whatever. But this better be quick. Judge Caprio remains standing, his presence now commanding every bit of attention in the room. Mr. Winchester, given your complete lack of remorse, your demonstrated pattern of reckless behavior, and your contemptuous attitude toward this court, I'm prepared to impose penalties that might actually penetrate your sense of entitlement. Leo's hand immediately moves toward his pocket, where his phone is. Cool, just send the bill to my dad's office. His assistant handles all this stuff. For reckless driving in a school zone, I'm fining you $5,000. Leo starts to pull out his phone again. Whatever. To be paid by you personally, not by your father. Leo's hand freezes halfway to his pocket. What? Why can't my dad pay it? Because you're an adult who committed the crime, and you need to face the consequences yourself. Leo's confidence wavers slightly. I mean, I'll just get the money from him and pay it myself. Same difference, right? Judge Caprio's next words make the entire courtroom hold its breath. I'm also suspending your driving privileges for 1 full year. Now Leo pulls his hand away from his phone entirely, giving Judge Caprio his full attention for the first time. A year? That's completely unreasonable. I need my car for school, for work, for everything. You should have considered that before endangering children's lives for the 3rd time in 6 months. How am I supposed to get around? Uber everywhere. Do you know how expensive that gets? Judge Caprio responds in a cold, steady voice. Public transportation exists, Mr. Winchester. Buses and trains are the same systems that millions of people use every day. Leo's face contorts with genuine disgust. Public transportation. You want me to ride the bus with regular people? Regular people, Mr. Winchester, are the citizens whose children you endangered with your reckless driving. This is insane, Leo mutters, his carefully constructed facade of casual indifference finally cracking. My dad is going to appeal this ridiculous sentence. His lawyers will have this overturned before I even leave the building. But Judge Caprio isn't finished. His voice becomes even more serious, if that's possible. And most importantly, since you seem to have such profound contempt for ordinary citizens and the public services they rely on, you're going to become intimately familiar with both. Leo's arrogant smirk starts to fade completely. What do you mean? You're sentenced to 150 hours of community service, specifically cleaning and maintaining the city buses you'll be riding for the next year. The courtroom erupts in murmurs of shock and approval. Leo's mouth drops open so wide you could drive a truck through it. Cleaning buses? You want me to clean buses? His voice cracks with disbelief. Every Saturday morning for the next year, you'll report to the Municipal Transportation Department at 6 a.m. and spend 8 hours scrubbing the same buses used by the regular people you hold in such contempt. 6 a.m. On Saturdays? Leo's voice rises to almost a squeak. That's when normal people sleep in. And manual labor? I can't do manual labor. People will see me. Judge Caprio's voice becomes deadly serious. Mr. Winchester, being seen performing honest work might be exactly what you need to develop some character and empathy. Leo jumps to his feet so abruptly his chair nearly falls over, his phone actually clattering to the floor. You can't make me do manual labor. This is America. My dad will sue this entire court system. Your father can file all the appeals he wants, Mr. Winchester. This sentence stands until you complete every single hour of service and demonstrate that you've learned to treat other people with basic human respect. This is discrimination against wealthy people. You're punishing me for being successful. Judge Caprio's response cuts through Leo's tantrum like a blade through silk. Mr. Winchester, I'm punishing you for being reckless, entitled, and contemptuous of human life. Your family's wealth has nothing to do with your moral character defects. Leo's face turns bright red with a mixture of rage and embarrassment. I'm not cleaning any disgusting buses. I'm not riding public transportation with a bunch of weirdos and poor people. My dad will fix this. Mr. Winchester, until you complete this sentence in full, your driving privileges remain suspended indefinitely. Miss a single Saturday of community service, and your suspension extends to 2 full years. Leo stares at Judge Caprio in absolute shock, finally beginning to understand that daddy's money can't make this nightmare disappear. This isn't fair. Other kids get warnings and small fines when they get caught speeding. Other kids show remorse, Mr. Winchester. Other kids don't treat court proceedings like a social media break while displaying contempt for everyone around them, including the judge. But I'm sorry now. I'm really, really sorry. Leo's voice becomes desperate and whiny. I promise I'll never speed again. Please, Your Honor, I'll pay any fine, any amount you want. Just don't make me clean buses in front of people. Judge Caprio leans forward slightly, his expression unyielding. Mr. Winchester, 30 minutes ago you told me that money solves every problem and that wealthy people deserve different treatment under the law. You've demonstrated nothing but contempt for this court, for public safety, and for the ordinary people, whose lives you've endangered. Words are meaningless when they come after consequences are announced. Leo's desperation reaches new heights. I was just being stupid. I didn't mean any of that stuff. I respect ordinary people. I love public transportation. I think buses are great. Mr. Winchester, your sudden conversion to respecting public services is noted but unconvincing. Leo tries a different approach, his voice becoming calculating. Your Honor, what if my family made a huge donation to the city? Like, enough to buy new buses for everyone? Would that show how sorry I am? Judge Caprio speaks with complete certainty. Mr. Winchester, you've lived your whole life thinking money can fix anything and get you out of trouble. Now you'll learn that respect, responsibility, and character can't be bought. You will serve every hour of your sentence, pay your fine with money you earn, and ride public transportation for a year. Maybe by then, you'll be ready to contribute to society instead of being a burden to those around you. Leo Winchester, who walked into court believing his last name made him untouchable, leaves facing a year of 6 a.m. Saturdays scrubbing bus floors alongside the maintenance workers he spent his life looking down on. The bailiff has to practically drag him from the courtroom as he continues protesting. This is slavery. This is cruel and unusual punishment. My dad's going to have your job for this. Within hours, video of his meltdown goes viral on every social media platform, and Leo becomes the poster child for entitled youth meeting real-world consequences. His wealthy prep school classmates mock him mercilessly as #BusBoyLeo trends worldwide, with memes of him in janitor coveralls flooding the internet. His father's attempts to appeal the sentence fail spectacularly when higher courts review the video evidence of Leo's courtroom behavior and conclude that Judge Caprio showed remarkable restraint. Sometimes, the best lessons come from experiences that money can't buy, like learning humility while cleaning a bus. You can't write me up. This is my father's badge. 20-year-old Brandon Blake holds the captain's shield in his left hand like a pass. The metal plate reflects the fluorescent light, and Blake waits for the officer to understand. At this moment, Judge Frank Caprio sets down his pen and, Mr. Blake, this court is not run on borrowed rank. Do you understand the charges against you? I understand this is being blown out of proportion. That's not what I asked. His lawyer, Martin Chong, stands calmly. Your Honor, this is a domestic dispute that has escalated unnecessarily. My client is prepared to pay the associated fines and resolve this matter today. Mr. Chong, sit down. This court is not a payment portal. The words echo quietly but harshly in the courtroom. Martin Chong hesitates at first, but then sits. Caprio taps his pen once. Officer Russo, confirm that the body camera audio is audible. Yes, Your Honor. Good, because in this video you are about to watch, you will witness what happens when someone tries to use a badge like a coupon. The officer steps forward, case file 24 to 10112. Commonwealth vs. Brandon Marcus Blake. Charges, stopping and standing in a marked fire lane. Refusal to obey a lawful order. Using the position of a police officer to intimidate and threaten a change of duty. Improper possession and display of law enforcement identification not issued to the driver. Traffic and Patrol Officer Jason Morales issued the citation on Monday at 11:19 a.m. Then Caprio leans forward. Mr. Blake, did you receive a copy of the citation at the scene? I got it. Did you read it? I looked at it. Not the same thing. Mr. Chang, is your client prepared to address these charges in their entirety today? Martin Chang stands up, this time more cautiously. Your Honor, we are prepared to pay the fines and proceed. My client has no prior record. Counselor, I did not ask about your client's record. I asked if he is prepared to address the facts. Now, sit down. Caprio turns another page. There's a note here, a campus parking warning from 8 months ago. Mr. Blake parked in an emergency vehicle zone during a university event and received a written warning. It's not a criminal matter, but a context for judgment. Mr. Blake, what happened in that incident? Brandon shrugs. Campus security was being overly technical. I was only there for 20 minutes. The warning states you refused to move until campus police were called. This isn't a penalty for today. This is a habit. Martin Chang tries his luck again. Your Honor, my client admits he could have handled Monday's situation better. He is here to take responsibility by paying the fines. Mr. Chang, paying a fine teaches nothing except how to swipe a card. I want to understand what happened. Mr. Blake, walk me through Monday morning. Brandon exhales, audibly frustrated. I was running errands on Westminster Street. I stopped for exactly 2 minutes to grab a coffee in front of Kim's Market. There was a fire lane, but nobody was using it. A cop came and made something out of nothing. I showed him my father's badge to explain I wasn't just some random person causing trouble. He kept writing anyway. You parked in a marked fire lane. For 2 minutes. No one was even using it. Mr. Blake, fire lanes are not optional based on activity level. They are for emergencies. Let me read a line from the written statement of Harold Kim, the shop owner. The delivery truck could not pull up. We had an elderly customer waiting for her prescription. Brandon waves his hand. That's not my fault. The delivery guy could have waited. Martin Chang interjects, objecting, Your Honor, we are introducing an irrelevant hardship that is not germane to the citation. Counselor. A blocked fire lane is a blocked fire lane. The obstruction of access is germane. That is the harm. Caprio turned to the officer standing by the side wall and, Officer Morales, please read your narrative into the record. Officer Jason Morales stepped forward, calm and clear, and began to read. At 11:17 a.m., I observed a white sedan parked in the marked fire lane in front of Kim's Market on Westminster. The vehicle was unoccupied. At 11:19 a.m., the driver, later identified as Brandon Blake, exited the store holding a cup of coffee. I approached him, stated that he was parked in a fire lane, and needed to move immediately. He said, I'll move in a minute. I explained I was issuing a citation, nonetheless. He produced a law enforcement badge, specifically a captain's shield, and stated, this is my dad's. You can't write me a ticket. When I continued to write the citation, he stated, write it, I'll have you working school crossings. I asked for his license and registration. He refused, saying, my father is on patrol. Do you know who I am? Caprio pauses. Officer Morales, did you perceive these statements as intimidation? Yes, Your Honor. Brandon leans forward. It was a taunt. I was annoyed. Let's listen. Officer Russo, play the body camera audio. Just the relevant exchange. A brief hiss of static. Then Brandon's voice, sharp and cutting, write it, I'll have you working school crossings. Caprio looks at his clerk. Miss Reyes, did anyone contact the court or department about this case before today? She checks a log. Yes, Your Honor. 2 calls and 1 voicemail, all from Captain Blake's office at the Providence Police Department. What are the timestamps? First call at 11:41 a.m., second at 12:08 p.m., voicemail at 12:23 p.m. Play the voicemail. A man's steady voice plays, this is calling from Captain Blake's office regarding a small traffic matter involving my son. Case number 24 to 10112. I'm looking to resolve this quietly before it proceeds. Please return this call. Martin Chong stands. Your Honor, my client can't control what his father's office does. This is prejudicial. Overruled. We need to note any outside pressure when it happens. I'm not accusing anyone of a crime, just recording the facts. Brandon shifts in his seat. I didn't ask him to call. Maybe not, but someone thought it would help. Here's the timeline: traffic stop at 11:19 a.m. First call from your father's office at 11:41 a.m. That's 22 minutes later. Caprio looks at the clerk again. Is Mr. Harold Kim available to give a brief statement? He is, Your Honor, by phone. Put him through. A man's voice, steady and matter-of-fact, fills the speaker. Thank you, Your Honor. I own Kim's Market in Westminster. That fire lane is critical for deliveries and emergency access. Monday morning, a vehicle blocked it for at least 15 minutes. My delivery driver couldn't pull in. We had an elderly customer waiting for her prescription. She has mobility issues and can't walk far. That lane is for ambulances, not latte runs. Fire lanes are pre-cleared emergencies. Brandon mutters something under his breath. Caprio catches it. Mr. Blake, if you have something to say it clearly. I said it wasn't 15 minutes. Mr. Kim's statement says it was. Officer Morales's timestamp indicates that you exited the store at 11:19, and the citation was issued at 11:24. This is a documented time. Mr. Kim, thank you. Your statement is on the record. The line clicks off. Caprio picks up another document. Miss Reyes, this is a screenshot of a text message from the prosecution. Can you read it? From Brandon Blake to an unnamed contact. Timestamp 11:23 a.m. Monday. Got stopped. Used Dad's badge. He said he'll fix it. Brandon's jaw tightens. That was private. It was allowed in evidence. Mr. Blake, let's look at the timeline. Traffic stop at 11:19 a.m. Your text at 11:23 a.m. First call from your father's office at 11:41 a.m. That's a clear sequence. Influence doesn't erase actions. You may not have asked, but you expected it. You told someone not to worry because your father would fix it. That's not just frustration. That's entitlement. Martin Chong stands again, more slowly. Your Honor, because of Captain Blake's public role, we ask that the rest of this hearing be private. Public proceedings could affect his position and cause tension in the department. Mr. Chong, fairness means staying on the record. Caprio looks at Brandon. I'm going to ask you 3 yes or no questions. Did you park in the fire lane? Yes. Did you refuse Officer Morales's request for your license and registration? I was going to give it to him. That's not a no. Did you refuse? Yes. Did you show a captain's badge and use your father's rank to threaten Officer Morales's assignment? Brandon hesitates. I showed the badge to explain who I was. That's not a no. Did you use his rank and threaten his assignment? Yes, Your Honor. This feels targeted. Brandon's voice is tense. Other people park in fire lanes and don't end up in court. Mr. Blake, this isn't about your character. It's about correcting a pattern. Others may park there, but not everyone waves a captain's badge and threatens an officer's job. You're not targeted. You're being held accountable. Martin Chong shifts in his seat. Your Honor, Mr. Blake is a college student with no criminal record. One mistake shouldn't define his future. I agree. That's why I'm treating this as a learning opportunity, not a judgment of character. The campus advisory was a warning. This citation is a consequence. If we don't address it now, the next time could be worse, like a firefighter unable to reach a building because someone used authority they didn't earn. The room is silent for several seconds. No one moves or speaks. Brandon looks down at the table. Martin Chang's pen is still. Officer Morales stands by the wall. Caprio finally says, "Accountability is quiet so the truth can be heard. Here is my decision. The evidence supports all 4 charges. Officer Morales's account is credible and backed by body cam audio, a photo of the fire lane, the text message, and the clerk's call log. Mr. Blake parked in a marked fire lane, blocking emergency access. He refused to follow a lawful order to show identification. He used law enforcement credentials that weren't his and used his father's position in a way Officer Morales saw as a threat. He expected special treatment because of borrowed authority." Caprio pauses. This court doesn't decide cases based on titles, connections, or family badges. Borrowed authority is still misuse of authority. Mr. Blake, your father's rank doesn't extend to you. Your status doesn't erase harm. The badge isn't a coupon. He turns a page. I also note the earlier campus advisory. That was meant to teach, not punish. You were told that emergency zones matter. You chose not to learn that lesson. Consequences teach what privilege hides. The total fines add up to $610. Stopping and standing in a fire lane is $200. Refusing a lawful order is $150. Intimidation and misuse of authority is $200. Administrative fees are $60. Brandon exhales. Caprio raises his hand. I'm not done. I'm suspending $300 of that total if you fully and promptly complete a restorative accountability plan. If you finish it, that part is forgiven. If not, you pay the full amount. Here's what you must do. First, write real apologies to Officer Jason Morales and Harold Kim. No form letters or PR statements. The apologies must say what you did and what you learned. Deliver them in person if both agree. If not, mail them and the court will confirm receipt. Second, complete 80 hours of community service with the Providence Police Department Community Engagement and Youth Safety Division. You'll answer phones, help with walk-ins, and do school outreach. No PR tasks or photo ops. The division commander will report your hours to the court. Third, help with 2 school talks called Respect the Badge, Don't Borrow Authority. Listen to officers explain how it feels when a badge is used against them. Fourth, write and record a 60-second public service announcement titled, Badges are for duty, not for discounts. The court will review the script. No family names or branding, just the truth. Fifth, complete a course on traffic authority and the ethics of law enforcement families. File the certificate with the court. Sixth, write a 700-word reflection on borrowed power versus earned respect. No slogans or fluff, just the truth. Caprio sets down his pen. Mercy isn't a discount. It's a contract. Additionally, I'm making the following recommendations on the record to the Municipal Court Administration, the Traffic Division, and the Providence Police Department. 1. Establish an ex parte influence log for all cases. I'm also making these recommendations to the Municipal Court Administration, the Traffic Division, and the Providence Police Department. First, set up an ex parte influence log for all cases. Any off-record contact regarding pending cases should be documented and reported on a weekly basis. Second, require a supervisor's cosign or recusal if a command-level officer contacts any staff about an active citation. Third, establish an anti-retaliation policy for officers involved in traffic stops with relatives in law enforcement. Officers who report intimidation or misuse of their badges should be protected from retaliation. Fourth, develop a guide for escalating fire lane enforcement. Repeat violations or those involving claims of entitlement or badge display should lead to toe-first actions. Fifth, provide an education module for teens and college students about the legal and ethical risks of misusing law enforcement connections. Honor, I'm Captain Marcus Blake. I'd like to handle this matter internally. Caprio doesn't stand. Captain, this is an active hearing. You're welcome to observe, but I won't discuss the case with you outside the record. With respect, Your Honor, this is a department matter. My son used my credentials. That's an internal discipline issue. Captain, this is not your case to manage. Your rank does not ride up here. Your son has counsel. He has a voice. This stays public. Department discipline is yours. Judicial transparency is mine. Brandon interrupts. Dad, stop. I did this, not you. Captain Blake turns toward him, surprised. Caprio's gaze sharpens. Captain, your authority ends at that door. Step back and let your son answer for himself. The captain hesitates, then nods and moves to the back row. Over the next 8 weeks, Brandon works through the plan step by step. In the first week, he writes an apology, but the court rejects it. Too much deflection. Not enough accountability. He tries again and improves. Officer Morales agrees to meet him at the station. Their conversation is short, uncomfortable, but necessary. Morales says, "When you waved that badge, you made me afraid of doing my job." That's not sarcasm. That's intimidation. Harold Kim accepts the written apology but doesn't want to meet in person. He emails the court, he named what he did wrong. That's enough. In weeks 2 through 7, Brandon completes 80 hours with the Community Engagement and Youth Safety Division. He answers calls, schedules school safety visits, and helps with walk-in hours. No cameras or social media posts. One officer tells him, respect goes both ways. You can't demand it with someone else's badge. In week 6, he helps with 2 school talks and listens as officers explain how it feels when their authority is used against them by a relative. One officer says, "Every time someone waves their dad's badge, it makes the next traffic stop harder for me." In week 7, he records the PSA. The first version is too polished and vague, so the court sends it back. He records it again, simply and honestly. The second draft is approved. The compliance course takes 2 more weeks, and he finishes it without complaint. The record is clear, 80 hours completed, 2 talks done, 1 PSA approved, and 1 sense of entitlement addressed. Officer Morales tells the court, he showed up. He listened. That matters. 8 weeks after the first hearing, Brandon returns to court alone. No lawyer, no father, no group. Caprio reviews the documents, apologies, service log, PSA recording, course certificate, and written reflection. "Mr. Blake, I've read your reflection. I want you to summarize it in your own words." No script. Brandon stands. "I thought my dad's badge was something I could use when I needed it. I didn't realize it's not mine. It stands for his service, not my convenience. When I showed it to Officer Morales and threatened his assignment, I didn't just disrespect him. I disrespected every officer who earns their authority by doing the job. I used my dad's work to avoid my own consequences." He pauses. "I also didn't know what it felt like to be on the other side. When officers explained how intimidation makes them second-guess good stops, I saw that I didn't just threaten one person. I threatened the process." "What did you learn from Officer Morales?" "That borrowed power isn't real power. It's theft. When I waved that badge, I took away his ability to do his job without fear. That's not sarcasm. That's abuse." "What did you learn from Mr. Kim?" "That fire lanes aren't about me. They're for people who need emergency access. I blocked a vital area, not just a parking spot." Caprio nods. "You stopped borrowing power and started earning respect." He signs a form. "I'm forgiving $250 of the suspended amount. You still owe $360, to be paid in installments over 6 months. The court will check your compliance. Remember, Mr. Blake, fire lanes are for emergencies, not egos. Thank you, Your Honor. Don't thank me. Thank the people who taught you what I couldn't. 4 months later, the new policies are in place. The court publishes its first, ex parte, influence log. One command-level call is recorded in the first 2 weeks and handled openly under the new rules. Officers say they feel safer with the anti-retaliation policy in place. Traffic supervisors update their teams on the new procedures. Fire lane enforcement increases across the city. 2 protocols are used for repeat or badge-related violations. Complaints dropped by 28% in the first quarter. Brandon's PSA is shared with 16 high schools and used in youth safety workshops. It's not viral or widely celebrated, but it's being used, and that's enough. An officer emails the court, "A kid asked me in a school talk if he could use his uncle's badge to get out of a ticket. I showed him the PSA. He understood. Thank you." On a quiet Friday, Caprio finishes his last case of the week. Before leaving, he writes a principle on a note card and pins it behind his bench: "Badges protect downward, not upward." He thinks of Brandon Blake, Officer Jason Morales in the fire lane, and Harold Kim's elderly customer waiting for her prescription. He turns off the light and locks the door.